Hi friends. Now, when I'm starting the series on books on spirituality that influence my life, I just want to start off by saying that for me, spirituality is an area for anyone like me who is interested to know what we are doing on this planet Earth, and he is not satisfied with the plain, straightforward answers that are given to him by his elders and people around him, and he wants to know and experience more. That's all. The different ways and paths are immaterial to him. He is interested in each and everything that can lead him to that goal. That has been my motto, and therefore I have gone around experiencing and experimenting with books, etc., on all sorts of various ways and approaches to spirituality. I mean, whether it be the gurus of modern times like Osho, Yogananda, and Yukteswara ji, or Swami Rama, or Krishnamurti, or Sadhguru, or it be the ancient texts from the Bible, the Quran, the Gita, the Guru Granth Sahib, the Upanishads, to Western ancient texts like the Emerald Tablets of Thought, the Zarathustra teachings, or the old Sumerian texts, ancient texts like the Anunnaki, the story of Gilgamesh, etc., or, or even the modern Western theory of law of attraction like the Secret and Bob Proctor and Alan Watts, etc. So I have loved to dabble and read about all of these different areas, find commonalities, and find what influenced me. But let me start off with the topic of this vlog and the area where it all started. And it started off very innocuously. So I'm coming straight to that person who pushed me on this journey. You see, one fine day, very recently married around, let's say, a lot of years back. Okay, I was traveling down from Delhi to Chandigarh, and I stopped, at a typical resort in Karnal, and the resort used to have a small bookstore. So just before we were leaving, after having our lunch, I just glanced through books, and I'm crazy about books, and I thought I should definitely pick up some, you know, high flying read. I had a new wife, and I thought maybe I'll impress and read some heavy stuff, and that's how I picked up a book by Osho. Few weeks later, I was sitting in Shimla, and I was in a hotel, and the mountains were there, and I got into a certain you know high mode, and I started reading it. And despite the stage, I was not at that stage in any frame of mind to think in terms of spirituality. I was in a very different mode. Osho hit me like a hammer, and I believe that is what it does to you if you really read it. People have such strong preconceived notions on Osho, and I'll come to that because that is the elephant in the room. That you just don't read him. The moment you read him, you see, I believe of all the different paths, if you were to pick out the first one to go, I would suggest Osho to anybody, and there's a reason for it. What he does do is, like a hammer, break this cocoon that we have, this coconut shell of such strong beliefs pushed to us by generations and religion and customs and rituals and man-made beliefs. Osho just dismantles them. All our thoughts on morality and this is good, this is bad, this is how humans should behave, just breaks him up. What is left inside is pure natural logic. And you start thinking, you realize that just like in other areas of life, your work, your relationship, you can think here too. And when he starts getting you to do that, you understand that relax, this intelligence given to you by your divine source. You can think, and it's the most beautiful thing in the world. Osho is so crystal clear in his talk. He is so amazing with his examples, and there are stories which he brings from all around the world. from Mullah Nasruddin to ancient Upanishadic and Panchatrata stories to Taoist stories to Zen Buddhism. He is a storehouse of knowledge. He gives you a basic flavor of all major spiritual, schools throughout history. It is amazing. I strongly suggest this could be the first guru you should ever visit. Now, let me come to the part about the elephant in the room, that is Osho and sex. That is what people most associate him with. And that is where I said he's just old wine in a new, beautiful packaging. Why did I say that? Those who don't understand that, yes, Osho said sex is nothing against, spirituality. If you want to do it, you can do it. And people say, oh my god, this man is blasphemous. Forget that in the Indian school of thoughts, there were multiple approaches to spirituality. One was the yogic way of renunciation. There was also the tantric way. In Tantra, there were multiple schools. There were some that said, you should do sex, but you should not, release the semen. There were others who said, no, you can do it all the way. It is a creative process. It's the most beautiful creative process that man knows. I mean, we forget that we have the Khajuras and we have the Kama Sutras. And even more than that, they don't realize that we have tons of tantric texts which are also a part of Indian culture, just like the yogic texts. If Osho borrows from them, how can that not be already prescribed old wine? I mean, they forget that we come from the land where our religion even allows us to accept aghoris. Now, the aghoris are the extremist forms where these people go to graveyards and they take ash from there and they smear it on themselves and they eat, all sorts of things. Why? Because they say that everything is divine. Even the most cringeworthy thing is divine. And we people cringe at sex. That is what Osho says. Osho exposes the absolute hypocrisy in our societies. So, but to reduce Osho to sex is, showing an absolute amount of ignorance. And there is only one way to take care of it. Read him. Yes, he talks about, he's open about sex. Yes, in his ashram, people were allowed to have open sex. But that's just something, the tip of the iceberg. He was not always, if you read his books, you realize that there's a little mention of sex. And it's just a very simple thing that, don't be cringeworthy about it. But he is such more profundity than just sex. Read him if you want to understand a bit of Tao. Read him if you want to understand a bit of Buddha. Read him if you want to understand a bit of Zen, Zarathustra, the Gita, the Nanak, all by one guru. Read him. If you want to use your brains, it is absolutely a must. Now, which is a good Osho book to start with? I think the simplest answer is the book that is nearest to you is the best book, because you can just start. See, most of Osho books are not about particular topics, because he goes left, right, center when he's argument, even if he's talking about a particular topic. You see, you read him for the examples, the stories, he's like a meandering river. He keeps going left, right, and he somehow manages to reach some destination. It's all talks. So, if I had to choke I went through all this dozen odd Osho books that I had, and I tried to figure out which one should I suggest. The first book that comes to my mind is just for its title, The Rebel, but nothing else, because he says, this title says, he says, the very salt of the earth, which means that rebellion is the basic nature of man. It's a beautiful title, and I just thought you should read it for the title, because that's the most logical answer I could come up with. The other one, Joking Around. Okay, very interesting. Simply put, one part is, Osho always said that the most important part of spirituality is to be able to laugh. The other reason why I suggest this is again Osho talking about Taoist way of life. So you get a glimpse of Taoism. You have another book by him which goes around talking about this Buddhist text. Okay, this very body, the Buddha. And he talks about how you are not different than Buddha. So anyway, if you want to get a flavor of Buddha, go ahead. Then, if you want an omnibus, here it is, the Osho Upanishad. It has nothing to do with the, uh, the Upanishads of old. It is Osho compiling a lot of his, what do you call it, speeches and etc. in a way, something like an omnibus. So, I leave it to you. And as I said, most of the essential flavors remain same, except in some of the areas like where he talks specifically about Tao or Zen or Nanak. Osho is vintage Osho. You can pick any of the generalist Osho books and start with it and see if they influence you to read about other philosophies. Thank you.